Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of our people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
Hello everyone, good evening. It is 11 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. Welcome to the In the Spotlight radio show right here on Q95 FM radio. It is another Monday night, and thank God we've been so consistent since the start of the year. And no illnesses, no interruptions, and we're grateful and thankful for that. Welcome to you wherever you are tonight, tuned into the program. If you're tuned in via Q95 FM, we thank you. I always say this is a radio program. We just do the Facebook bit for those who choose to probably see the guests or if they just want to view. So welcome. Again, as usual, we say thank you to Q95 for allowing us to be here on a Monday night. Thank you to Mr. Gregoire and Showin, who is always here providing some support. We acknowledge as well Josephine Gabriel and the Company Limited, and Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited as well have been very consistent in terms of providing us with a bottle of wine for our guests every Monday night. And this time around we have Barefoot Fruscato. Good evening to you, Jenny, and the folks at Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited. And I always need to give the little plug here that these deliciously sweet blends are made with wine and natural flavors, burst with aromas of juicy, refreshing watermelon, crisp, juicy apples, sun-kissed strawberries, and perfectly ripe peaches. They are available at supermarkets and retail outlets across the island. So get yourself some of that Barefoot Fruscato. I love just about every line of wine and drinks that Josephine Gabriel and Company offers to the general public, and I urge you to give them some support. So my guest, this is yours for tonight. Compliment Josephine Gabriel and the Company Limited. We also want to thank them for providing us with water, with water as well, or Twapita water. So we thank them for that, and we thank them for their support. We want to thank Deepex, we want to thank GK, Jordan Jerome, we want to thank Akim Lowe of Innovate Multimedia, and we want to also thank Flo Dominica for supporting the show tonight. Don't forget our social media platforms. We have our In the Spotlight Radio Show page. We have our group by the In the Spotlight Radio Show. My page, you can follow me, as well as my public page, Ferdina Fernanda Frampton. We also have Triple F Marketing and Advertising, that page, so give that some support as well. And we're also on Instagram. So we're just about getting ready to get started tonight. Don't forget, folks, those of you who wish to contribute to the show, and I thank those of you who've reached out so far and made a contribution to the show. Thank you so much. And those of you who want to do so, you can inbox me on 275-7565, of course, area code 767. So 275-7565. For those of you who know, I do have another number, which is my everyday number, but this number is particularly for the show and the things that I do on the side, you could probably say. All right, so that number again is 275-7565, area code 767. And we'll discuss how you can make a small contribution or a big contribution to the In the Spotlight radio show. Thank you again, everyone. It is 8:15. We're going to do this and we're coming right back to introduce our guest for tonight.
That's so 2020. Get a Samsung A7 tablet from Flow for only $99. And sign up for a new all-in or all-in plus bundle. Enjoy faster broadband speeds to surf and stream, more TV channels in HD to stay entertained, and unlimited flow-to-flow fixed minutes to stay in touch with everyone you love. So sign up today for a new bundle from Flow. Visit discoverflow.co for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Everybody loves good news, and Flow's got great news for everyone. Prepaid customers, now you get unlimited talk and more data with Flow's new value-loaded, always-on prepaid plan. And it gets better. Now until March 31st, activate any plan and get 2 times the data. Not a Flow customer? Switch now and get the 30-day plan for only $50 with 50 gigabits of data. That's just $1 a gig. Dial *129# now to activate a 1, 3, 7, or 3. Or visit discoverflow.co for information.
And just to remind our listeners and viewers, those of you interested in the fixed bundles promotion where you get the tablet for $99, you have just about 1 more day, 2 more days as a matter of fact, to take advantage of that particular offer, because it comes to an end on the 31st of March. Okay, so keep it locked. Make sure that you have Flow service. It is the best on island. So make sure that you take advantage of this. 8:17 is the time in studios. $18 past the hour. Welcome again. If you're just joining us, you're just in time for the introduction of our guest on tonight's In the Spotlight radio show. Last week, Monday, we had Ron Green, who was associated with one political party, or is still associated with one political party. And tonight, we have a gentleman who has taken up the position of interim leader of another political party. His name is Bernard Hurtault, and he's in the studios with us. Hello, Bernard. Good evening.
Good evening, Ferdina, and good evening to all your listeners out there and all those folks on the various social media platforms who are following us. And it's a pleasure to be here and have a little rap session.
Yes, you, my brother's namesake, Bernard.
Yes.
And actually, you all are friends.
I actually know him well. Yes, Bernard and I go back a long way, back to SMA, and we worked together a little bit.
You did?
Yeah, in VOI for a little bit.
You worked at Voice of the Islands?
I worked briefly, right after Sixth Form College.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Just like me.
Yes.
I actually did Voice of the Islands radio while I was at Sixth Form. My father brought me in. I was very reluctant about it, but some way somehow it worked out, and I found myself there, and here I am today. You knew my dad well as well.
Yes.
Oh, he's one of the reasons
he's
why.
one of the icons of radio in Dominica,
That's
right?
correct.
So, yeah, definitely.
And he's the reason why I do this. So he's part of the reason why I do this. My little way of keeping his legacy alive. And I always say, people are saying, move the show to social media. No, my father was a radio personality.
Radio man, yes.
He brought me into radio, and I shall do this on radio, supplemented by the social media, the camera on the guest and that kind of thing. But it's going to be predominantly radio.
So it's sort of in celebration of him and his legacy and the sort of impact radio had, I guess, in Dominica through to that.
That is correct, Bernard. That is correct. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be here. I felt it was important that people got a better understanding, a better sense of the person, of who you are. And so I thought, you know, this gentleman, well, based on conversations with a good friend as well, I figured, you know, we should have you on here. And let us hear a little bit more about you. Because we were talking just a bit earlier on, Bernard, and I was saying, probably a certain section of the population may not necessarily know who you are.
Right, right.
So we want to get that section of the population who does not know who you are to get to know a little bit more about you.
Perfect.
Together with those who already know you. How about that?
That sounds good to me.
That works for you, right? So let us begin by sharing with us who Bernard Hurtault is, you know, high level.
High level, yes. Well, you know, I am just a man of the soil, really. I was born in Roseau. I grew up in Roseau. I know practically every nook and cranny in Roseau. Back in the 70s when I was a kid, it was not the time of internet or television, really, and we had fun. And so I grew up in the Bafford area. That was really my beginnings. It's surprising, it still surprises me that there are many people who seem to have lost track of me.
Apparently.
Yeah, there was a time I was, that would not be the case. I used to be very involved in youth politics, youth organizations. I used to be the president of my student council, and so a lot of my peers now are in leadership positions throughout society. And there's a certain strata, let's say, of the population that knows me pretty well and still connected. But I guess over time, a lot of the younger generation certainly would not know of me. And I'd love to introduce myself back to them. I consider it a reintroduction rather than an introduction, because at some level I was very plugged into Dominican social life. And there's an older segment of the population as well who wouldn't know me when I was a kid. They may know my older siblings, but somehow in my family I seem to drop out. I seem to disappear, being one of the last kids, and having left home fairly early, and been pursuing my life overseas for many years. And so it's understandable that Dominicans in certain generational areas have lost track of me, but I am certainly very plugged into Dominica. I'm here all the time, and that's sort of my background. I went to school at the convent prep. I literally walked from home to convent prep every day. It was a very interesting journey. I have many good friends from there. Many people said, "Hey, convent prep, I didn't know they had boys." So they went, I said, "Yes, of course, they've always had boys." They gave me a hard time about it. And then I went to St. Mary's Academy and attended school there. As I said, I was the head boy for during my last year, and that was my journey. Really plugged into Dominican society. I was my early formative years are totally Dominican. I left in my early 20s to pursue further education, and I've done that for the past several years. But all my formative memories are here. My emotional heart is here, and we can talk more about that.
We're definitely going to talk more about that. In terms of your personality, if somebody who is viewing or listening, well, the viewers are saying you're a good-looking man, so they seem to be talking a little bit about that on the chat of the program. But in terms of personality, if somebody would want to know what type of personality that you have, how would you respond to that?
I would say I have a bit of a dual personality, to be honest with you. I have the ability to go, a lot of my professional life has been corporate life, and that has made me, I guess, has a certain approach of formality, a certain approach to seriousness and gravitas in my approach to life, I guess. But there's a flip side of me. I'm actually, those who know me well and closely would tell you I'm just a fun guy, I actually do not take myself as seriously as most people would think. I think it is hubris to take yourself too seriously, no matter what your accomplishments, no matter what you do in life. You have to realize we are all on this earth for a brief moment, and we cannot inflate ourselves to think we're too important or too essential to the continuation of the human species. we're all expendable and we're here for a brief time. So I try to look at the lighter side of life. I certainly enjoy social events and social activities and hanging out and walking around town and plugging into the community. I love meeting people. I mean, Dominicans are the most fun, interesting people that I know. I've always been so. And so I would describe myself as you know, fairly jovial. I love people. I like to meet and interact with people. They energize me.
The man on the ground, they say, normally are the ones who help determine the result of an election. And we're not going there as yet, but are you the type of guy who could probably go and sit on the block and have a conversation with the guys on the block?
You know, yes. People ask me that actually, because I guess there's a certain imagery of me. Again, as I said, from my many years of professional experience, that comes across maybe a bit corporate, let's say,
yes.
for lack of a better word.
I think that's the best word to use.
Yes, it's a fair word. But I assure you, I have no issues sitting on the block to talk to anyone. I do it all the time. I've sat on the block, as I said, all my formative years. Sat at Four Corners, sat at the corner of Bath Road, sat on the Bayfront, sat in the River Street area, and so I can comfortably say I am comfortable with people of all stripes, and I respect people of all stripes, and I learn from people of all stripes, and so it's actually quite pleasurable for me to interact with all the different social strata of Dominican, and my experience has been we get on well. People respond if they think you're authentic. You're not trying to talk to them just for a photo moment, but you're truly interested in sitting and have a conversation, and I love doing it. I'm quite comfortable doing it.
And that's important. If you want to be successful in terms of politics, winning elections, getting to know people. Okay, tell me a bit about, so you speak about growing up in Roseau and being from Roseau and literally walking to school. So tell me about those two folks who brought you to life.
My parents?
Yes.
Yes, of course. My dad and my mom, you know, my dad was a very strict man. He was very militaristic in his approach to family life, and I think that helped him. That brought a lot of discipline to my life. My mother was more of the supportive, very quiet lady. In fact, I have never heard my mom in an argument, nor have she ever yelled at me, maybe a few times, but nothing that sticks in my memory. She's the gentlest soul that I know, and she's the most patient person that I know, and I think she's been very nurturing in my upbringing. My father was the true leader of the family in terms of discipline, and he was a very intelligent man. I think what I can say about him is, in his day, he did not have the sort of opportunities that I have had in my life. He paved the way to ensure that I had those, but he himself didn't have the opportunity to go into tertiary education or to graduate studies and so on. Very intelligent man. I always respected him, and he was very entrepreneurial. He did what he had to do to make the family successful. Ran many operations all my life. He always had one business or the other, different types of businesses, and he made the family work. And somehow my home was always the center of the universe for the neighborhood. It always seemed to be that way for each generation of the kids. And that was just the sort of man that my father was. He had many friends, influential friends throughout society, just a connected man. And he made things happen. That's what I remember. And I remember him insisting that we work, insisting that we be disciplined, and that we be successful. Education was very important to him, and all his children have gone on to better things. And as I said, my mother is the epitome of patience, caring, kindness. I remember her preparing my uniforms diligently every day, and she was just the most, and she still is, my mother's still alive, very patient, caring lady, and I hope I have at least gotten some of her characteristics, although most people tell me I'm more like my dad than my mom, but I think I'm a blend.
What about your heritage? So we spoke about mom and dad, but where are their roots?
Where they from?
Yes.
And my dad is actually from Roseau. Now people tell me, There are no people from Roseau. Everyone is from somewhere. But there actually are people from Roseau that go back generations. My father's family is the Itos and the Vanderpools, and they have been fixtures of Roseau, I think, probably back to the 17th century. They have always been part of that merchant class that was, originally located in Roseau, and that sort of thing. So my father's side of the family goes, as far as I know, it goes all the way back to maybe the original movement of people into the Roseau area from French Martinique sort of direction, some of those mulatto people. My mom is actually from the Salibert area. She is half Kalinago, so that is her heritage. But she's been in Roseau since the 1940s, really, and so really she grew up there as well. And she and my father met there, and have been living in the city since then. So I guess I have multiple streams of inheritance there.
What about your siblings? Today somebody asked me if Tronada, the Calypsonian, is your brother, is he a relative?
Tronada is my brother. I guess he's my most famous brother.
Yes.
He certainly seems to be more famous than I am. And yes, he is my elder brother. And I remember growing up and listening to his calypso, always aspiring to get on the stage with him. And I remember in the early days in his calypso career, he was the youngest calypso king, as you may well know. And getting on stage with him and doing presentations and always being inspired to, maybe one day I'll sing myself. But clearly I have a voice.
You say that.
I went in a different direction. But yes, definitely my brother. We talk all the time. In fact, we talked earlier today, and he's probably listening right now. He's overseas, basically doing engineering work as well. But he's here often and still participating in our cultural life.
He's been on the program.
Yes, I know.
Yes, he's been on the program. He was good. And you have, tell me about the other siblings?
Yes, I have three other brothers. One of my brothers passed, and I have 4 sisters. So big family, which was typical of that time. And they are in various, most of them have migrated overseas. A few of them are here. My younger brother and sister are here, but most of my siblings are overseas. And actually, they are essentially a generation ahead of me. That's why I sort of fall in the cracks, because I was a late baby into the family. By the time I knew myself, most of them were grown folk, and so they are a little bit older than me and approaching retirement age. But that's sort of the genesis there. But most of them are overseas now.
The last name is an interesting one. People have difficulty pronouncing it sometimes. So you hear Hurtault, Ito, and those of us who know the correct one, but people make the error with it. How often have you come across that?
Oh, all the time. Well, when I'm in the States, I'm Mr. Hurtault. I don't bother with trying to be Ito. It's simply too difficult. So all throughout college life, undergraduate, graduate school, and corporate life, I am Hurtault. In fact, funnily enough, when I come home, I forget sometimes to switch into back to Ito, and I'll introduce myself as Hurtault. People will correct me. And they say, "No, you're Ito." I say, "Yes, you're right. I am Ito." And so that's interesting. Americans are very literal. They'll pronounce your name literally what the letters spell out. They don't like nuance at all. And so that's been an ongoing factor, but it's you get used to it.
You get used to it. Let's move on to, we're going back to when you went to the convent prep. How much of that do you remember?
A lot of it, actually. It's some of my most fun, interesting memories. I remember practically from the first day walking into kindergarten. Miss Garage was my kindergarten teacher. And I remember almost all my schoolmates from that first kindergarten day. We had many toys. I remember being overwhelmed with the number of toys we had back there in the special room. I remember that day very clearly. I remember first grade trying to learn my alphabet, which is very peculiar to remember that. And I think I remember something from every grade. It's a very deep emotional memories there, I think, when you're young. And I think they set the foundation for who you are emotionally and socially. And I can truly say it was some of my best days. I remember. That's where I grew my love for reading, really, and that continues today.
And convent prep, would that have been primary?
Yes,
it would have been primary.
My primary school.
Yes, primary school. And then you mentioned SMA.
St. Mary's Academy,
Yes.
or as we say, the smartest man alive. I had to do it. But yes, St. Mary's Academy, I attended there for high school. Again, a lot of my peers are, out here in society right now. Jeffrey Baptist, who runs Flow, is
My manager.
Yes,
Yes.
that's my schoolmate. Actually, he was on my student council. I was president and he used to be the treasurer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right, very interesting, right? So, yes, St. Mary's Academy, good old days. I mean, again, wonderful memories, right? Recess time, getting out there to buy your bakes and your coconut cheese, and all the friends that you make there and the adventures you go after schools. And frankly, we'd walk over the convent and try to see the young ladies over there. It's just good times,
Yes.
Not just that, but just good memories. I had a good academic time there and did well in school, so I got a little slack, I always say, from the teachers. But I have nothing but good memories of my high school days. To me, it was the best days of my life.
In terms of academics, what subjects did you do? Did you do sciences, business?
Yes, I was a science guy from primary school on. I was always interested in science, and I pursued that all the way through. But I think I have a bit of a split personality again when it comes to academics. I also enjoy writing, economics, and the social sciences. I think I keep my fit in both realms. But my professional life has always been scientific. Academic life is primarily in the sciences.
In the sciences.
Physics, chemistry, engineering, those sort of things.
Did you, at your the point of your high school at the St. Mary's Academy, did you already know what the future career was for you? Did you already have a sense of that?
I knew I wanted to be in the engineering field from early on. I always was aspired to that. The particular subfield or the particular speciality, that would not come clearly into view until I got into it, but I certainly knew that I would be in the applied sciences. I always found that to be interesting. I wanted to do practical work, to build things, to make things happen, to make the world run. And so that's what I did. Although I dabbled in pure sciences as well, I also did a double major in chemistry, so along with my engineering work. So I guess I'm an intellectually curious person, but that was the direction though. I knew I was going to go down that path.
And so your time at St. Mary's Academy came to an end in what year was that?
88.
88. So what happened? What was the decision? What was the next step?
The next step, I think, was the natural next step that we took at the time, was to go on to the sixth form college. That's what it's called. Right. Clifton Divinity Community College. Now called C4 now called State College. Right? At that time, you had to have a certain performance at CXC. You had to get a certain number of subjects.
You had to pass math and English to get in there.
Yes, you did. There was an entrance criteria, and so I think it was just a rite of passage. All of the students who performed well went on to that next step, and that's what I did. So I spent 2 years there at the Sixth Form College. Again, 2 interesting years, a little tougher. We finally, got into some subjects that were challenging. At the time, we were doing A-level subjects, and but it was again just great friendships and just great memories and great people. And the people I met there, I made friendship with there. Are still some of my best friends today. And I also met a lot of the people who had gone on before me, who had formed the Skip in Touch Club, and they were some of the best mentors and intellectual mentors that I met, and continue to look up to them.
And so sixth form, the next step after that normally is to get a job.
Right.
Is that what happened with you as well?
I did. I decided, okay, time to earn some money.
Right.
I'll go to study shortly, but I want to have a little fun. I've been studying here for, 15 years since primary school. So I did that actually. I applied, I went to work at the National Credit Union.
As a teller?
I did that. I also worked in loans for a little bit.
Okay.
And I did that for about a year and a half. And then an interesting thing happened. I love to read. I love to read. I've been reading my entire life. But for some reason, in that year of working and happy hours and just having fun, young man, 18 years old, finally out of school, I sort of dropped off the wagon. I sort of turned my back on the intellectual world in a bit, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to have a good fun and just go. And I did that practically for a year. And I went home one night, and this book lay on my table. It was called The Invisible Man, and I picked it up, and I started reading it again. And somehow it triggered this deep nostalgia or this deep sense of what are you doing, Bernard? You have more to do intellectually than where you are now, and it's imperative that you move on. And so right shortly after this, I decided I'll teach for a while, just get my...
Where did you teach?
At St. Mary's Academy.
Okay.
I taught for 1 year, just sort of get back into the groove of academics, and then I did a little bit of reporting on the side with the New Chronicle.
Oh.
I actually have articles I've saved that I wrote. I got some nice feedback on them. And
interesting.
Right after that, I decided, well, okay, it's time for the next step, and I made the necessary arrangements and moved to Texas. I got a scholarship, applied, got a scholarship to Midwestern State University.
From Dominica.
From Dominica. And made that transition. It was time to, I guess, get back serious about my academics and the next steps in life.
How old were you by then? 21, 22?
Right about 21, yes.
Okay. And you made that decision and you moved across.
I did.
What was the objective when you made that decision? What was Bernard going to do? What was he going to achieve at the end of this?
Well, since I had stayed a little longer, and some of my friends had left the year before, I stayed a year back having a little fun. The first objective was catch up and pass them, right? Graduate quickly.
Wait.
Yes.
Catch up and pass them.
Yes.
Those that had gone a year before
and
you.
I did it, actually. Yes. I probably have the record for graduating the fastest undergraduate degree at Midwestern State University. I did it like in 2.5 years.
Wow.
And but you know, it was non-stop work, and you had to do what you wanted to do because I wanted to move on. I wanted to get on with things.
You were committed to it.
Yes, I was. You know, that was the goal. That was the objective, to earn my degree and to get on with the next steps in life, get on with my professional life. That was the first goal, and the second goal was to establish some professional experience in the United States, because the ultimate goal, the larger goal at that time really was to go prepare myself to at some point be in the position, intellectually, academically, financially, to contribute in a much more meaningful way to my country.
So that was the plan from there?
That was the plan from there. It was a 20-year plan. Put yourself in the position, gain the experiences, gain the financial independence, gain the academic qualifications to do something for your country later in life, and to make sure and to plan strategically to have the right experiences under your belt to do this sort of thing. So if you're asking for the overall long-term goal, that was the goal. The immediate goal though was to earn that degree, get into the work world, and develop my career.
Did you already know what the something it is that you were going to give back to your country? Did you already know what it was going to be? Did you already know it was going to be in the line of politics?
I think so. I think ultimately I knew I wanted to play some leadership role in society. I had always been in leadership roles from my earliest years, from primary school to high school. As I said, I used to be the prefect, the head boy of my school. By the way, Mr. Skerritt was the head boy at grammar school, and I used to be the head boy at Sixth Form College. So we had a lot of joint projects we've done. We built things together.
Nice.
So we know each other, and we have sort of sequential paths there, if you will. So I think, I don't think one can avoid, if you really feel that you have something to contribute, and you have the right experiences, and you believe you have certain talents, I think you should focus your talents the way they can be most useful to society. And it has always been my situation that I could provide some level of organization, leadership, And I saw myself doing that in the future, and I've done that in my job, and that's sort of what I want to contribute to my society. And one cannot avoid the reality that if you want to make meaningful change in your society, then governance is an important part of that. And to get involved in governance, to try to bring good governance to your society is probably the most noble, difficult, but the most noble thing one can do. And so that was my aspiration to one day, in some form or fashion, one will see how it will evolve as time goes by, but to provide some sort of leadership representation to one's island, the place that one loves.
Once you were done with that program, what was the next step?
I went on then, I was recruited once I graduated, I actually went to work for a year at an aerospace company. I was an engineer. I was actually in charge of the third shift of a manufacturing operation, where I had about 60 employees, and we developed engines, aircraft engines.
Just so we understand, you graduated with a degree in what?
I had a dual degree, engineering, mechanical engineering, as well as chemistry.
Okay, all right, go on.
And then I went to work for this company for about a year. It was an enjoyable job, good experience, good people to work with, good development, because really in engineering, the practical skills on the job is really what matters. So I was working on that. But after about a year, I just right around the year 2000, a little after, just after, I asked myself, but where is the future? Where are things going? Where is the world evolving to? What's the next things in the horizon? And it was the digital economy. It was very clear to me. In fact, the internet was just picking up speed at that time. And it was clear to me that that's where the action was. That's where the future was being created. And as I said, I'm always looking to move into where I can make the biggest contribution. And so I went back to school. I actually applied to graduate school. I got another scholarship to study semiconductor engineering, which is really the development of microchips. And that was what I went on to do. I went to do a master's degree in electrical engineering, new product development. It was an interesting program. It was sort of sponsored by industry as well as academics. So it was a sort of academic industry program. You would do a semester at school and go off for a few months to work for the company and so on. So I did that, earned that master's degree in, as I said, in product development in semiconductors, and from then moved to work for that company, and Texas Instruments, which is one of the largest manufacturers. We fly under the radar. Many people don't know of Texas Instruments. They think we make calculators.
I was just about to say I know Texas Instruments for my calculator.
Yes, yes, but it's a very minute part of the company, less than 5%. And but the majority of the company is we make microchips for smartphones, computers, cars. We smartify the world, we say.
How did you get that job? And what was the job you got at Texas Instruments?
Well, I was specifically trained for that job because the master's degree that I did was specifically tailored in semiconductor engineering, a very specific subfield of microelectronics. And so there's a high demand, still is, for that job at the time. So once you graduate, you pretty much, since it's a narrow area, specifically targeted to semiconductor companies, you're pretty much assured of a job. In fact, they're training you to come do that job. So that's how I was in. I interviewed at the company, but it was really just a formality. They had specifically recruited me because of my grade point average, my GPA from undergraduate, through interviews.
Which was?
Pretty good. I got to the top honors, but you know, that was sort of, and those companies will not hire you if you have a GPA below 3.5.
Wow.
It's a minimum requirement to get your foot in the door. And so that was how I got in, and I worked with the company. And my first job was test engineering, developing scripts and debugging the microchips and ensuring that in production, before they get out the door to the customers, that they work correctly. And you know, it's a very interesting operation. But I was also, I knew that I wanted to move down the managerial ladder, because as I said, I was specifically preparing myself for experiences that would translate into a Dominica context at some point. And there's not much microchip design and testing being done in Dominica. So I migrated my role over time as I gained more experience and went up the ladder a bit more into management, project management specifically, managing a technical team of various specialities and subfields to develop a product and work closely with customers all over the world. I've traveled extensively over the world, building those teams, solving problems, interacting with customers, and that has been the majority of my career. As things evolve, I also got involved in productivity, in efficiency improvements, in new product development, in R&D development, efficiencies, things like Six Sigma and lean manufacturing, and all the aspect that it takes to run an efficient organization, both from a manufacturing point of view and a management point of view. And so I have spent a lot of time really learning how to run operations and how to run businesses and how to innovate and to think creatively about solving problems for customers.
Are you still with Texas Instruments?
Yes. I still work with them. I work remotely now, I'm getting closer to the end of my career at Texas Instruments, and translate out of that. It's been very rewarding professionally, technically, intellectually, and financially. And so I think I am in a position where I can do other things with the balance of whatever life force is left in me.
So you're ready to give it up?
Well, the intention was always to retire early.
You retire early?
Yes, that was always the intention.
Okay.
I had no intention of truly getting to retirement age to retire. And so I've been focused on the plan, the financial plan, to put myself in a position to do that.
And you think you're at that place now? Just about?
I am. I simply need to, wrap a few things up. But that, as I said, the plan is a long-term plan to get to that position and to do the things that truly excite me, which is, help design societies now, rather than microchips. But what I should have mentioned is, while I was at Texas Instruments doing my technical role, I also pursued a PhD in economic development. And so, again, that dual nature of myself comes into play. And so, my passion in economics and social theory and development theory is something that I've also honed and polished over time to do that. Now, I have a few chapters left to write to submit my dissertation, but it's sort of a formality at this point. So, again, I've been pursuing both the professional life and the academic life in parallel.
Clearly. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back in just a moment. This is the In the Spotlight radio show right here on Q95 FM.
From all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of our people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday nights from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
Your old tablet? That's so 2020. Get a Samsung A7 tablet from Flow for only $99 when you sign up for a new all-in or all-in plus bundle. Enjoy faster broadband speeds to surf and stream, more TV channels in HD to stay entertained, and unlimited flow-to-flow fixed minutes to stay in touch with everyone you love. So sign up today for a new bundle from Flow. Visit discoverflow.co for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Everybody loves good news, and Flow's got great news for everyone. Prepaid customers, now you get unlimited talk and more data with Flow's new value-loaded, always-on prepaid plans. And it gets better. Now, until March 31st, activate any plan and get 2 times the data. Not a Flow customer? Switch now and get the 30-day plan for only $50 with 50 gigabits of data. That's just $1 a gig. Dial *129# now to activate a 1, 3, 7, or 30-day plan. Or visit discoverflow.co for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, we're back. This is the In the Spotlight radio show. We just had to take a quick break there quickly to deal with something. I needed to ask you, Mr. Ito.
Sure.
So that gives you how many degrees? Yeah.
Let's see.
Your
I would say 4 because I had.
You're almost done with the
double
PhD,
degree,
right?
Yeah.
And you're almost done with the PhD.
I was done with the PhD. I also have a master's degree in industrial engineering.
Industrial
From
engineering.
Texas Tech. Yeah.
So masters.
I have 2.
You have 2 masters?
Yes, from Texas Tech.
Okay.
And industrial and semiconductor engineering.
Okay.
And then, as I said, PhD in economics and economic development. More
Okay.
specifically.
All right. In terms of your location, you are in studios with me now.
Yeah.
Have you moved back to Dominica?
For the most part, yes. I have been in Dominica now for the better part of a year. And my home is here. Actually, I have a few homes here. So
A few?
yeah, yes.
Okay. And you're not talking about your mom's home or your dad's home, you're talking about
Well,
your
my
home.
own homes,
Yes.
I mean, I do try to invest in Dominica.
Mhm.
I do try to put, my resources here, and I have, some entrepreneurial ideas for those properties and so on. And so that's essentially my next stage in life is to do the things on island that I put myself in a position to do.
So your heart has always been here, even if you're over there.
Absolutely. I've never, in my mind, I have never left Dominica. I have simply been out on a long pilgrimage to do the things I need to do to, make myself capable of making the contribution that I always wanted to. So that's pretty much it. For a long time, I mean, literally, I did not have a dream not based in Dominica. Literally, when I went to sleep for many years, they were all based here. So I think I know I have very strong emotional ties to that.
Mhm.
This is where my life is. As I said, I have traveled all over the world, but there is no place I love more, no place I find more beautiful, no people I find more interesting than Dominicans. This is just where I home, and if I am to do something with my life, my talents, my energies, my resources, I want to do it here, in a place that I love more than anywhere else.
What is your view of Dominica? And I'm talking about current governance, culturally, economically, where development is concerned. What is your view as somebody who's always been, in touch with your home? But what is your view as you sit here this evening of this place you seem to love, the people you seem to care about? What is your view of Dominica?
I'm very disappointed where we are in terms of our progress. When I left Dominica just about 20 years ago, I was very hopeful that the country would have been in a far better position than it is today. I think we have squandered many years of opportunities to transform the country. Dominica economically is the same, maybe even a bit worse than when I left the island. We have made some progress in income, but the fundamental transformation of the economy necessary for society to progress has not happened. In fact, as I said, I think we've taken steps backward to create a dynamic economy. So I'm very disappointed in that. Socially, I think we have lost a bit of the cohesiveness that we once had as Dominicans. We have lost a lot of sort of social trust and shared vision that we had about who we were. I think we have lost the sense of, there's a more sense of entitlement in certain segments of the society. And so I am profoundly disappointed. And the governance, certainly I think we have taken a step backwards. Governance is a process of political development. You need to show a maturity in the way the society is governed and the way the electorate evaluates options and policies. And I think we have taken a step backwards. It's become very tribal and very, very personalistic type of policies. And so I am not pleased at all with where we are, but I think it's not too late. I think we're in a position to do. There are people who are capable of fixing that, of making the next 20 years not a squandered opportunity, but a time of real progress, authentic development, as we like to say, within the Freedom Party. A lot of the things that are done, we consider, sort of band-aid operations. They build a few things, they make some things look a little better, but fundamentally there's no transformation of the underlying economy or the options available to Dominicans. And I am profoundly discouraged by where we are.
And we're going to get a bit more into some of that detail in just a while. But speak to us about your introduction to politics. How did this happen?
I think it has always sort of been there, in a sense. I have always been involved in organizational life, in leadership in organizational life. And politics is not necessarily a bad word. It simply means, being in the position to help direct the affairs of the organization, any organization. And so politics has just been part of leadership to me. So in terms of the formal politics in the Dominica Freedom Party, I grew up in a freedom household. My mother, father, closest friends were freedom, and that's just part of my DNA. And so looking at the political landscape to re-engage with my island and at the political level, it's a natural fit, and the values that I hold in terms of government should be for the people. Government should show servant leadership to the people, and should have integrity and should have transparency. These are natural values that the Freedom Party holds, and the natural values that I hold. And so there's a natural fit between my personal value system and the value system of the Dominica Freedom Party. And so I got involved in the party, once decided that it was the right fit for me. The conversations took place that needed to take place, the involvements and the dialogues and the interactions with the party, and I realized this truly was what I wanted to do and where I needed to be, and so it's just a natural process for me. It almost seems to be an inevitable process for me.
Because Bernard, so we heard of the resignation of the last leader, Mr. Kent Hurtault, and then we hear a name Bernard Hurtault pops up, and I'm like, who?
Right.
Who's
sort of blindsided.
It's like you just came from nowhere.
Right.
But did you really come from nowhere?
No, I actually was the deputy political leader of the party.
Okay.
For several months prior to that. So it was a natural move that I assumed, the mantle of leadership, and that's sort of the evolution of the thing. And so yes, as deputy political leader, I guess I flew under the radar for a
Yes,
bit.
you did.
But it's part of, the Dominica Freedom Party is building a team and has been working on building a team.
But we've heard that for a while, Bernard, that even with the last leader, that the Dominica Freedom Party was rebuilding, and that you'd be contesting the last election and all of that, and what? Right.
So things didn't come to fruition then, but that's the process.
Right.
The process continues, and really the Dominica Freedom Party believes that Dominica is a seamless nation. By that we mean overseas Dominicans, local Dominicans, Dominicans wherever they are across the globe should be involved in the political process, should be involved as a constituency, should be involved in focusing on this geographic location and making it a better place. And so the Dominica Freedom Party, as I think, innovatively and proactively and ahead of the pack in coming to the realization that the overseas community should play a significant role in this development. And I think I represent sort of the tip of the spear of that approach to development.
And we'll talk about a little later on how you're going to get the people back, the freedomites you've lost along the way, how you're going to get them back. But we'll get to that. I want to talk about leadership. How do you define a good leader? And do you consider yourself to be a good leader? Because you're now, even if it's interim, you're now the leader of a political party.
Sure. Leadership is a complicated thing with many facets. People often, in fact, confuse it with management. But you couldn't be a good leader and not a good manager, and vice versa. I think leadership boils down to the ability to understand the vision, the aspirations of people, and to be able to help them to define a vision that satisfies their aspirations, and to be able to inspire them to move in the direction that they believe will make a better life for themselves. So I don't believe in the concept of the leader as the boss, as the authoritarian. The leader should be a servant leader. Certainly he should inspire a vision and help move people in this direction, but people respect people, they believe are doing the work on their behalf, they believe in their good intentions, and they believe in their ability to be innovative and to have some foresight and strategic ideas on how they themselves can have a better life. And to me, that's what a leader needs to do, is to inspire people, is to motivate people to activate what is within themselves to achieve their dreams, to help people achieve their dreams. It's not about you, it's about the people and the dreams that they have inside of them. And if you can play a role in helping structure things and organize things and be strategic in helping people achieve their dreams, then people will naturally respect you as a leader. Do I consider myself a good leader? I believe I have characteristics that would provide me some advantages in being a leader. I think I have that propensity to believe in people and their dreams, and to truly genuinely care about finding ways to help them actualize their dreams, to make their lives better and more meaningful. And it just gives more meaning to me, to my life. I think we should all have meaningful lives. And if through my efforts and education and training I can help people accomplish their dreams, then that's a beautiful thing. And so that's how I view the whole concept of leaders and leadership.
Within the Dominica Freedom Party, there are others who came before you. We know we had the Mary Eugenia Charles, who was the first female Prime Minister. Was she an inspiration for you? And are there other leaders within the Dominica Freedom Party who you think you can emulate or who have inspired you in any way or the other?
Yes, Dame Eugenia was, I think, a powerful leader in Dominican society, a powerful woman, a very I think she reset many of the things that were going wrong in the 70s and put Dominica on a solid path to good governance. And that's the thing that I find most inspiring about Dame Eugenia, is just her ability to run an ethical government, a transparent government. Folks may disagree with her economic policy or maybe even her social policies, but from terms of insisting upon good governance, and insisting on transparent government, and insisting that the government is here to serve the people and not to be served by the people or not to benefit from the people, is the most important lesson that I take from her. And I grew up with her as my Prime Minister, and she was well respected by every segment of society, even those who disagree with her, and certainly she was respected internationally. And that was a very, that's a legacy that is still buried within the DNA of the Freedom Party, and we certainly hope to resurrect it. Through time, of course, there have been various leaders in the party who have played other roles. Some of the early ministers were certainly people who helped build the societies. Through time, we know Sir Brian Allen has been a very influential figure, not only in Dominica, but throughout the Caribbean, and a good man, a man of good ethics, a man who people naturally believe had their back in situations. That man, his demeanor, his patience, his ability to be understanding and kind is also an inspiration to me in the way I try to conduct myself in you know, whatever position that the party now asks of me.
I will take it one step further externally. Anybody who is there right at the top for you in terms of good leader representation of good leadership, anybody that you would like to emulate?
You mean just generally?
Yeah, generally leaders. No, externally. Meaning outside of the Freedom Party. It could be in Dominica or anywhere else in the world.
Yes, I mean, I've always admired Nelson Mandela. He is the sort of strong man that was in very difficult positions. His ability to negotiate such contentious parties, you know, in terms of the racial situation in South Africa, has always been something that I've admired. His diplomatic abilities, his abilities to bring people together, his patience for 30-something years to keep the fire and the vision is something that has always been inspirational. But throughout my career, I have met so many people who have taught me so many different things. People who have shown patience, people who have shown humility, people who have shown extraordinary kindness. Because I think leadership is found in people in many different walks of life. You don't necessarily have to have the formal title of leader to inspire me to be a good leader. And I have met many people, ordinary folks that I consider people who gravitate towards listening to, and that sort of experience and that sort of understanding of what true leadership is. Leadership is earned. It's not necessarily bestowed by a formal title. That's sort of my inspiration.
The Dominica Freedom Party was a formidable party at one point in Dominica, and the party at some point started to lose its following. You had the collaboration with the Dominica Labour Party, and you had quite a few Freedomites who would have voted either for the Labour Party or the United Workers' Party. Your people got split, and at some point it almost appeared like the Dominica Freedom Party was almost non-existent. And we've been hearing of the rebuilding process, and we've been hearing quite a bit about that. But with that in mind, one, why the Freedom Party? And do you think that there are still Freedomites existing as we speak?
Okay, why the Freedom Party?
Yes. Besides the fact that you grew up in a Freedom Party household.
It's really the party that, as I said, my values align most with.
Okay.
I think the Freedom Party represents a sort of center-right party that my political philosophy aligns with. It is also the sort of party that stands for integrity in government to the largest extent. It's a party that I trust in terms of those values. And so if I am to put my time and energy and life force into something, it's something I truly want to believe is an organization of integrity. The cultural values of the Freedom Party works for me. Now, that is the fundamental aspect. Now, are there Freedomites out there? I believe so. Because if you define, not believe, so I know so. If you define Freedomites to be people who believe in good governance, people who believe in personal freedom, people who believe in accountability, people who believe in having an economy that provides opportunities for all, I believe there are many, many Dominicans who are there, regardless of their official party affiliation. And our job is to appeal to that segment of the population and say, come back home, come back to the party that represents who you fundamentally are. We understand Dominica has gone through some political upheavals and twists and turns and has tribalized, but we believe in you. We believe fundamentally that you are the sort of person that holds his values there, who knows what Dominicans can be and what sort of society we should be. And so I believe strongly, and I have been approached and told and have had conversations with many people who have said, yes, we believe in those values. This is what we want. This is what our country needs. And so I define those people as freedomites, values-wise. And the label the whole is secondary, but the values is what appeals to people and what will bring people back to the table. There was a time every political party was considered dead. The Labour Party in the 80s was considered dead for
I didn't want to use the word dead.
Yes, but that would have been bandied around, and I will not avoid it.
Indeed.
But every political party goes through the doldrums, and then they roar back to life, and that is what we are intending to do here.
What are the values? You made quite a bit of reference to the values of the Freedom Party. What are some of those values that you speak to?
Well, we can define it as 4 fundamental things, right? We are about, being the clean party, right? Integrity, transparency, accountability. We believe strongly that these values are important to good governance, and we hold that dear. We're also about community. That is, we're about others. We're about other development, not self-development. We believe if the society is doing well, if people are getting welfare, if people are making progress in their lives, if people's children have better opportunities, then we're doing the right thing. So we are other-oriented. The other aspect of it is competency. We believe that a good government should be competent. We need to have the technical expertise, we need to have the right experts in place, we need to give them the freedom to operate. We need to get the right people onto the bus of governance, get them into the right seats, but once they're in the right seats, let them do the job. So we believe in competence, we believe in collaboration, we believe in teams. We don't believe in the idea of one superior leader. We believe that it takes a team of people to govern any country. It takes teams of people throughout society and small L leadership that recognizes leadership at all levels. And so these fundamental things represent what the Freedom Party is about. We're about competency, we're about being clean, we're about being compassionate, and we're about being, about other directed, the community, the forces, we say.
Mm-hmm. Who are you attracting? Existing Freedomites? Who are you? Who do you want to come back or to come and be part of this Freedom Party?
We want every Dominican who believes that our country can be much better than it is today. We want every Dominican who believes that our country has not accomplished what it can and has the potential to. The beautiful island that we have with smart people is simply underperforming, and we want every Dominican who believes that we're underperforming to get with a team that believes it can lead us to performance, who can turn this thing around. We want every Dominican who believes that they don't have this sort of personal freedom to express themselves and to live the lives that they want to live without, being victimized or in other ways being taken advantage of or denied opportunities to come back to the party. So we are really appealing to all Dominicans who simply want a decent way of life, a prosperous way of life, a social solidarity way of life to come back to the party. So we're really not focused on color. We're focused on the fundamental values that I think many, many Dominicans still hold there and long for, pine for, really.
There may be those who have some concerns in that the last person who took on the role that you did resigned just about 3 years, I think, after he took it. Yes, he took on that position. It may give the sense of instability or something is wrong with even within the executive of the party. I'm not sure of the details. I don't know if I missed it in the news. I'm not sure the details of his resignation as to exactly why he said he resigned. But what do you think that says, though, Bernard? It could be setting a trend that probably along the way we might, a year or 2 years of Bernard into this position, he too might just resign because probably there's some instability within the party. How do you address that?
Well, I think every organization goes through certain dynamics of change and growth and development. Kent had his own ideas and concepts of how he could, at a certain point, he got to that point on how he could make his biggest contribution to Dominica. there were areas and personal considerations for his family and for his life. And as I said, the sort of ways and strategies that he felt he could most contribute to the island, and he wanted to pursue those. And so I think everyone should be allowed to make the choices that are most effective for them on a personal level. And organizations who have teams of people who have filled the pipeline with leaders and who fill the pipeline with a strong team simply adapts to those realities and takes the next step forward. And so we continue to move forward. We really haven't stumbled, I don't think, and we move on. As I said, every growth process involves change, and that's sort of what's been taking place in the Dominica Freedom Party, and change and growth is what we're after.
Mm-hmm. And then you became the interim leader, and I meant to follow up on that with you earlier. How did that happen? What is the process within your party in terms of how that happens?
Well, actually, it's a very simple process. I was the interim, I was the deputy political leader, and the Constitution specifies that if the leader resigns, then the deputy political leader assumes the role. So it was there was not a lot of internal politics there. It was simply a natural step in how we manage the organization.
So no voting, no bringing together of executive and anybody saying, well, this is my thought. You just have to go by your constitution.
Primarily, of course, there will be discussion at the executive level, and there will be, discussions about, leadership and position shiftings and so on, and that kind of. There will always be those discussions, but I mean, there is a path laid out in the Constitution how we manage that process. And so, after the discussions and the relevant considerations, the relevant rules were followed.
I get a sense that possibly there may have been one or two other persons who would have probably liked to assume the role of leadership in the party.
Well, in any good party, you should have a table of candidates that are willing to step forward.
You're the interim leader as we speak. Is this something that you want long term?
I think we started the conversation with me kind of indicating that Bernard 2.0, let's say, will be pursuing these sort of positions on the island that he think he can be most effective in helping effect change and development. So that role is a natural fit and a natural ambition and a natural passion of this stage of my life.
So what is the next step from here? Because you now hold the title of interim. When does the formality or can the formality take place to become the actual leader? What happens?
Yes, well, I am the actual leader, but in terms of getting to some next resolution and of the matter, and bringing the whole team, an extended team together of freedom supporters to do this, really we need to work towards our convention.
Convention.
Yeah, and our national. Get to that place where we bring that team together, we bring all the folks together, and we have an election process. But that's a process that we're building towards. You certainly need to have certain organizational capacity in place. You have to have a certain logistics worked out, and so that's one of the things that we will work towards putting in place. Hopefully, towards the second half of the year, or as things develop. If we can pull that in.
What has the interest been like in the party? And I'm going to reference a young man whom we all know very well, Paul Barron.
Sure.
I saw some postings on social media in terms of him making a movement from one party possibly to your party. Is that something you're aware of? And are you in conversations with this young man?
Yes, I mean we know Paul Barron's story pretty well. And he did release a statement supporting the party. We will take any and all endorsements, right? There's no reason that Paul has any big issue over him that an endorsement from him would not be welcome. And so we welcome his endorsement. We're a big tent party. We welcome all members. And so Paul is welcome to join the Freedom Party and, get involved in the rebuilding process. We did meet with him, myself, and the chairman of the party.
Who is
Mr. Boston.
Okay.
Johnson Boston.
Yes.
And we had a conversation with Paul. We've had several conversations. We met, just understand, okay, who are you? What's your philosophy? What's your interest in the party? And that's sort of where we are. As I said, we are very open to conversations, and we welcome people of all political stripes to join what they believe in. And if Paul believes in the values of the Freedom Party, he's welcome to join us and do what we can as an organization, as a member of the party, to help push our agenda forward.
Do you have similar interests who may not be as public and open as probably Paul is?
I will tell you, there have been a lot of interest in the party. The party is developing momentum and energy and emotional appeal. And we're having several conversations with several people, and and the man on the street as well, who's willing to come back in and join the party and to help us organize and to do the things we need to do. So in any political party, you will have conversations, you will have interests, and again, we're a big tent party, and we welcome any political party supporter to join us.
Okay, 9:26 is the time in the studios. We have a lot more to talk to Bernard about, the plans, the visions, the objectives, the rebuilding of the party, how does he plan on doing that, and so on and so forth. But he's also open to taking some calls on the program. So I'm going to give you the numbers. Well, most of you know the numbers very well. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. These are the local numbers, and the overseas number 305-432-9624. And we will welcome some calls for Bernard, those of you who would like to call and share with him your views, make suggestions, as you wish. We're giving you that opportunity to do that on the program, and we'll do that once we come back from this.
That's so 2020. Get a Samsung A7 tablet Frampton for only $99 when you sign up for a new all-in or all-in plus bundle. Enjoy faster broadband speeds to surf and stream, more TV channels in HD to stay entertained, and unlimited flow-to-flow fixed minutes to stay in touch with everyone you love. So sign up today for a new bundle from Flow. Visit discoverflow.co for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Everybody loves good news, and Flow's got great news for everyone. Prepaid customers, now you get unlimited talk and more data with Flow's new value-loaded, always-on prepaid plan. And it gets better. Now until March 31st, activate any plan and get 2 times the data. Not a Flow customer? Switch now and get the 30-day plan for only $50 with 50 gigabits of data. That's just $1 a gig. Dial *129# now to activate a 1, 3, 7, or 30-day plan. Or visit discoverflow.co for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
We're back at 9:29, the time in the studios of Q95. We remind you that you can call and interact with us using 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. Our overseas number is 305-432-9624. As we continue our conversation with Bernard Hurtault, the interim leader of the Dominica Freedom Party, he says his party is on the way to recovery. He used the word dead, I didn't. But I must ask though, Bernard, in terms of, we know there's the APP exists in existence. There's also the United Workers' Party. Right. Are you having any conversations with anybody at this time as it relates to other political parties and probably some kind of merge or union?
we're having conversations with many people, and certainly some of those folks are members of the other political parties for sure. I mean, we've had some cordial discussions with the APP. We have not really had any formal discussions with UWP, but Mr. Linton and I have exchanged words and had pleasantries and conversations. So it's just a conversation process, right? Mm-hmm. Those folks in the opposition camp. I mean, I think we are cordial. We hope to be cooperative. But there's not been any sort of formal discussions or arrangements or certainly discussions about mergers. I think it's way too early in the process for those sort of discussions. But we're certainly having conversations about friendship and about cooperation and about understanding exactly what it will take to effect social change that we want. And so there are many shared interests across the opposition political parties, and so it's natural that we will have conversations and discussions around issues.
How do these conversations come about? Who makes the call? How does it work out if it's not too much insider information to share? How do these conversations happen?
I think they're sort of organic.
Yeah?
They just arise in many different ways, right? At some point, someone might say, "Hey, Bernard, from a different party, that was a good point you raised on this program. I would like to talk to you some more about that." So another time, I might reciprocate and so forth. And a few emails might exchange and say, "Hey, I think we have some common thing on this issue that's coming up, so maybe we should talk more." I think just building those bonds of communication, opening the channels of communication, happens sort of organically. You don't have to be planned all the time, and that's sort of good communication. Is that if you can pick up the phone and have contacts. I know you have over 1,200 contacts. So having contacts that you can reach out to, whether they're in opposition political parties or not, leadership positions, those conversations happen just organically.
Okay.
There are some formal overtures at some point. These things do and will happen, but we're really at the point of opening lines of communication, I think.
In terms of this leadership, this new leadership for the party, what does it mean for the Freedom Party? In terms of you, the individual, the party itself, what impact or effect do you think you're going to have in bringing people back to the party?
Well, if I'm successful at my job, I think we need to make people believe that there are viable alternatives to the current administration, that there are viable leadership options available to you, that the narrative that there are not is not an accurate one. There are many Dominicans quite capable, teams of Dominicans quite capable of leading this country in new directions effectively. I would argue more effectively than has been done in the past. And so part of our job, part of my job, is to convey that to the Dominican population. You will not be going astray by bringing in a new leadership team that understands fundamentally what it means to govern the country, what it means to grow an economy, how it means to collaborate in a society. It's our job to convince Dominicans that is in fact true. It is also our job to convince Dominicans that the past 20 years has really been a squandered opportunity to truly build a shining city in the sea. It is possible. We have too many intelligent, well-educated, professional Dominicans, well-meaning Dominicans, hard-working Dominicans, not to have converted our country into a prosperous country by now. And I think it's our job to make the Dominicans understand that we have fallen behind. We have fallen behind. Other nations in 20 years have transformed themselves into industrial superpowers. And we have not made any significant economic progress. The only reason we have a little bit more money circulating in the economy is for passport sales, but that's not creative, that's not productive, and that doesn't expand the opportunities for more than a small set of people. And so my job, our job as a party, is to convince Dominicans that we can do much better than this, and to make people truly understand that, and to come to the realization that the bling projects are not true development. We want authentic development, authentic economics, authentic societal, civil society, and authentic governance. And we want real progress, real opportunities for many people, and that's what we have to communicate.
Let's talk about the plans and the vision that this party has. If when the election comes around and you put up a slate of 21 candidates, and what is it that you want to say to the Dominican public that you envision for Dominica, the plans that you have, why probably they should give you an X at all, if anything?
If I could give an elevated pitch on this in 30 seconds, I would say we want Dominica to understand that we truly believe as a team we can transform Dominica from third world to first world in 20 years. I truly believe we can set a vision to transform our country from one that is struggling economically to one that is an economic powerhouse by focusing on 21st century skills, 21st century opportunities, by truly develop and targeting our human capital development from primary school to tailor them to the jobs of the future, to utilize that intelligence that is inherent in so many Dominicans, to really prepare them for high-paying, export-oriented jobs. We truly believe in 10 years we could have the economy on a path to sustained growth and to prosperity. And so we truly believe that. We believe that we can, that it is Dominica's economic situation is fixable. We can transform this island into one of prosperity with a few strategic thinking people at the helm. People who knows how to walk the corridors in overseas markets, who knows how to walk the doors of corporate America and corporate Europe, and can build the relationships and opportunities that we need to bring the sort of 21st century jobs like data analytics, like engineering services, like advanced manufacturing, smart manufacturing, and bring the sort of industries that we need to be focusing on to take Dominica to the next level. And the sort of technical and sort of business skills that are necessary to do that, we believe we have the right team that can bring that about.
You speak about the right team. What is the composition of the team that you speak of at this time?
How exactly do you mean it?
So, I would presume you have an executive.
Yes.
Outside of the executive,
right.
What makes up the rest of the team?
Right. So, as I said, the Freedom Party is developing a new vision of what a political party can be, should be, in the context of Dominica being a microstate where as many people from that country live outside of the borders as within its borders. And so the team is comprised of a mix of Dominicans on the ground as well as Dominican professionals overseas who are making that transition and looking to make that transition into playing a leadership role on the island. And not only from a leadership role, but in a broad-based support of people who are interested in investing in Dominica, who are putting funds into good governance in the island and into transforming the country. Our strategy, our approach to governance is to reach out to Dominicans wherever they are and leverage their passions, their energy into developing, into transforming our geographic location. And so the team is a mix, as I said, of both people on the ground, and we will build that team as we attract them and as we build towards a vision that they believe in. And we've had lots of good conversations and we're working on that local team. But we also believe that we should source expertise of Dominicans wherever they are to develop the island.
A lot of people working in the background to get this done?
Yes, there's a team focused on building the human capital, the organizational capital, the volunteer base that we need, and all of those activities are actively ongoing.
Are you going to attract a few more like you who've been in the diaspora for some time, building up themselves, preparing themselves to come back home?
Right.
Is that part of your arsenal for this Freedom Party rebuild?
Yes, we are certainly, as I said, there are many talented Dominicans across across the world. And we believe that whatever talent can be brought to bear on the problem of development in Dominica, and the problem of leadership, and the problem of administration, investment should be brought to bear. And so we will actively pursue those persons and those resources wherever they are.
Wherever they are to come. So I need to ask, how do you intend to address the reality of the DFP faction, which is now identifying with the government of the DLP?
Well, they're prodigal sons and daughters, right? They're prodigal sons and daughters, and as the prodigal father, this is the father of the prodigal sons, and he welcomed them with open arms, right?
But how do you get them back, Bernard? How do you get them back?
Well, as I tried to explain a little earlier, I believe many of those folks, and again, we are defining freedomites, I think, a little differently, is the fundamental values and aspirations that people identify with. All of those who still fundamentally believe in their heart that Freedom Party values and systems were theirs, and they have simply, sort of been waiting to be reminded of their fundamental values. Those folks, I think, will naturally gravitate back to the party. I have had conversations with people who says I'm a strong liberalite, but I was always a freedomite, and I believe in the Freedom Party, I believe what it represents, and so I believe there is more possibilities of change there than might be realized. Mm-hmm. There are more people who are emotionally fond of the Freedom Party. They may have had disagreements with policies, they have had disagreements with strategies,
leadership,
with leadership even, but there are people who emotionally are fond of the Freedom Party, and if we have the right message and the right strategy, I believe they are willing to come back home. And so we shall see. It's our job to make sure we have the right product that attracts them home.
You are here this evening. I know you've done a couple of other programs. You are here with me on the program this evening, and I know that we have quite a bit of listeners, and we have viewers on social media as well. What is your strategy in terms of getting the public to know Bernard Hurtault, the leader, much better, and in terms of decentralizing the message that Freedom Party is here, Freedom Party is rebuilding? What are the plans to get this done, to get you more out there and to get your message out there?
Yeah, there are many strategic things that we're doing that I probably won't go into detail on, but at a high level, I mean, it's just a matter of shoe leather. We have got to be out there and got to be visibly seen interacting with the public. We've got to get out to the villages and the communities. We've got to start reaching out on social media platforms a lot more, because let's face it, a lot of young people and most people these days, we live in almost a virtual Dominica, right? And so getting out there in that virtual space is very important, and we certainly plan to do so. And we have a 51 village strategy that sort of aligns with our upcoming celebration of the number of years of the Freedom Party's existence. And so we will be hitting those villages and having those conversations and dialogues, and reintroducing myself and the party to the Dominican public, and just having the conversations like I'm having with you tonight, and letting people look into your soul, if you will, and say, well, I mean what I say, and I'm authentic, and we truly mean well, and we truly intend to do something transformative. And having those conversations, that's the way we reach people.
Okay, we have someone who is joining us on the line. You may want to put on your headphones, and let's say good evening to the caller.
Good evening, Carl.
Good evening. It sounds like Mr. Boston. Yes, the chairman of the party. Good evening.
And that is the level of politics that the Freedom Party always and will continue to represent. Politics of togetherness, unity of purpose. We are all Dominican at the end of it, whether you support Labour, Freedom, or Labour. And we're all Dominicans, and we have to work together to make our country better. And I think Bernard made the point quite well that this is our aim. And the question of us being a white church, a big tent where everybody is welcome into the party, they have been so from since the party was formed in '68. Now, there's a new buzz, a new excitement for the party. We have attracted a few new members already into the party. We have a couple of lawyers, which we will not mention now, which will be appropriate time to do that. We have persons, young people who are coming in to the party, and as well as said, we believe that the future of Dominica belongs to Dominicans at home and Dominicans abroad. We should not only rely on Dominicans overseas to come in to make a vote. They should be involved in the process. They build markets wherever they are for Dominican goods and crafts, as well as investing in Dominica in terms of businesses, making money available to our banks and our credit unions so people can borrow to build themselves up. So we have a partnership with Dominicans at home and abroad, because we cannot, as a small country, ignore our Dominican people wherever they are outside in the world. So we have to work together. So there's a new excitement. I'm pleased with what is happening. I'm proud of what we have achieved thus far. I will say to you that Bernard, as our interim leader, things are falling into place. We have a solid team doing PR. We have a solid team doing strategy. And we have a team coming through now to look at finance, because that is very, very important. And things are just falling into place. So I still want to with that. They're doing a fantastic job tonight. And I think I view and a lot of persons viewing, and they're very pleased with what they hear. You want the politics of education, of service, of commitment, of building each other going forward for a better Dominica. Not the politics of bringing down and big and so forth. So when he spoke about speaking with other groups, other parties, this is the kind of thing. And if we will speak to the other parties, they call us, we'll speak to them about how they should conduct themselves and where they're going wrong. We'll speak to them as well. That is what we're hoping to do for Dominica and Dominicans at home and abroad.
Before you depart, Mr. Boston, I wanted to get your view on your interim leader as a person and as a leader. How would you speak of him?
To us, long before he was deputy leader of the party, I mean, in the network, the Love for Country network that we have built for a while now. He came through there, he showed his interest. When he come home, he, on several occasions, appeared on a radio program and came across quite well to Dominican people based on his plans, his strategy, and his interest, and love for the country and its people and our development. And when he became deputy, he committed himself to the work of the party and being available for the party. So when the leader was there before he resigned, then, as he said, the constitution of the party says, when if the leader, is unavailable, then the deputy leader steps in. We had meetings of our executive, our strategy committee, and we discussed, and we arrived quickly in putting him in place as the deputy leader to take over the leadership party between our convention. We're looking for convention somewhere in August, once COVID gives us an ease up. Because when we get a place, our quorum is 40 people in a hall, when we get more than that, it's 200 in a hall. So a meaningful convention, so we have to look at maybe without COVID. But I can see you bring a new energy, a new value, a new enthusiasm, and new approach to what we're doing. And I think many of us in the party are beginning to see this leadership as something that will motivate the troops going forward and will inspire other people. People are talking to me and saying that when they heard him on March 1, the first time, before he came across quite well, he articulates quite well, and he has a passion for the country and for the people. And that's he's from Roseau, and a lot of people who know him in Roseau, those who don't know him, want to say he's Transla's brother. They say, oh, immediately he got accepted in that regard. But I think he has to his own moving around, his own touching base and knocking doors, and that will be done. And this is the next step we're going into.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Boston, for calling in and contributing to the program. We do sincerely appreciate it. Let's take this call. Good evening. Hello, good evening. You are listening to your computer or your... There's a delay, so please listen to me on the mic. Hello? Okay, please feel free to call us back. So he spoke about, Mr. Boston spoke about,
right.
Very soon you're going to have to start knocking doors and so on. Can we already get a sense that Bernard will probably be running for the Roseau Central seat in the next election?
As things develop, that would certainly be the plan, yes.
Definitely the plan. 4493095, 4493096, 4493097. If you would like to touch base with us from overseas, the number is 305-432-9624. Good evening. Hello, good evening. If only you would stop listening to your phone or to your computer or whatever other device you're using other than the radio to listen to the program, then you would definitely be able to hear us right now. Hello? Yes, good evening. Go ahead, please.
I have a question for Mr. Ito. A great interview, by the way, very inspiring. I'm all for the authentic leadership and authentic development of Dominica. As a student studying in the U.S., it gives me great joy to hear him speak about the digital economy and progressive ways forward for Dominica. And so, for myself and for other students out there in the U.S. and in UE and around the world, what encouragement do you have for us? So how do you see us in your plans for the future?
So it's a great question. I think the young students, the folks studying out there, are the future of Dominica. I really think I've spoken to many of those students and individuals, and I live inspired by the energy, by the enthusiasm, by the love that they have for the country, that their continued willingness to return home and to make their contributions. I think what is critical is for us as a party and as a future government to ensure that we create the enabling environment, the social environment of welcome back the students, and the economic environment that the students can plug into and have productive careers right here at home. And so I say, do not give up hope. I know many students who become, disheartened by their inability to return home and to do real work, authentic work that they're trained for, and no opportunities. And I said, this is a failing of this present government. After 20 years, we should have an economy that at least can welcome back and accommodate many of the students. And the sad fact is we can barely accommodate any of those, and that's a major failure. So I say, do not give up hope. We want you, we believe in you. This team that's in place now, that's leading the party and hope to form the next government, you are the foundation upon which we're going to build this new thing. You are the energy, you are the right people with the right skills and the right attitudes and the right youth to help us build this shining city in the city that we're talking about. So do not give up hope, keep your enthusiasm up. Things are going to change, and you are going to be the sort of collaborative partners in development that you should have been all along.
All right, 9:53 is the time in the studios. We will take a couple more calls and get ready to get our final words in. Good evening. Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Miss Scotland here again.
Miss Scotland, stop listening to your internet, to your computer, and speak to us directly from listening through the phone.
Okay. Sorry. So, yes, one more question for Mr. Ito here. Regarding on-the-ground youth, I mean, a lot of youth are coming home on vacations, or with the COVID times, a lot of people are choosing to study online and that kind of thing. And so how can we, in that time, get active with your party, with the youth and so forth?
Yes, that's something that we're certainly hoping to leverage. To build those relationships with those students and to understand and to organize. Really, it's about organizing. So we're putting a team together that's focused on developing that volunteer base and understanding where the folks are the returning students, are the new students, are the young people at the state college and so on, to get the basic intelligence that we need to be able to organize those folks into some sort of cohesive volunteer network. Because at the end of the day, it will take all hands on deck. It will take an organized and sustained volunteer effort. We need people in Dominica to be able to do that sort of work and to build the presence that we're looking for and to do the sort of social support programs that we need to do. And so not a single volunteer that's available should be left untapped. And so we are in fact actively working, putting a team together to organize that sort of volunteer activity. And certainly students, especially returning students, will be a big factor in that. I think they will be the leading edge in that strategy.
So once your convention takes place, I think there about August, Mr. Boston says, if COVID permits, are we going to see a much more deeper presence? Are you going to be going full speed ahead in terms of really positioning the Dominica Freedom Party as a viable option for governance in Dominica?
Absolutely, that is the task ahead, and that is what we are working vigorously towards. We really want to demonstrate the reality that's building, that the Dominica Freedom Party is serious about good governance and serious about assuming the governance of the island. And so it's our job to convince the Dominican people of what we are convinced of, that we can and are the right people to take the country into the next era, and that's the job ahead. So we will be absolutely pushing the agenda that to make the listening public aware of the team that is prepared to do the work to make us a prosperous and peaceful country.
And you're saying by the time the next election comes about, you will be ready to contest all 21 constituencies?
That is the goal. We will do all the work necessary. We put our tears, blood, and sweat into ensuring that we accomplish our objective. That is definitely the goal.
So if somebody is interested in making contact with the party, if they have some kind of interest, how do they do that?
We have a website through which we coordinate these activities. We are certainly going to develop that site into a real recruitment tool. We'll have all of the social media platforms active here very shortly, and we will open multiple channels of communication to the party and through the relevant volunteers who are coordinating recruitment and membership and so on. So we'll soon have all that information rolled out, and there will be multiple lines for which people can get in touch with the party. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm available. I have put my information out there through many platforms. Mr. Boston is always available, and anyone in the Freedom Party someone can identify can walk up to us and have a conversation. We're very open to these conversations, and we're willing to have conversations, so people can call us, talk to us, email us, text us, and we are a big tent, and we like to think we're approachable people, and that's the sort of thing that we want to do. We are people.
The people that you're targeting to be part of your party and those who will be running for political office, what type of person or people are you looking at, and how are you going to prepare them for governance?
Right. Well, it goes back to the forces we discussed earlier, right? We're looking for people who are competent. We want people who can really get the job done, people that people believe can get the job done, and who can actually get the job done, right? Skilled people who have experience in building teams and in leading organizations. That's a big part of what we want to do. We also want people who have emotional intelligence, who understands that what the people of the constituencies are concerned about, and who can empathize and reach out to people and people can resonate with. We also want people, of course, who are other-oriented. The people we look for are not interested in economic gain for themselves or other advancements, but we're looking for people who are truly statesmen and women, who care about their communities, who care about this country, and are looking to do something out of the contribution, to leave a legacy of contribution. And that's the sort of people we're looking for. We're also looking for people who are compassionate, who truly care about people. We're looking for people, as I said, that are super ethical, and people who are about others.
People with degrees, Mr.
Degrees, not necessarily. We are not an elitist party, I would like to think. We are not, that's not necessarily a qualification. We're looking for good, solid people who can represent the interests of their constituencies, who truly care about them, and who are competent in taking ideas and needs from the constituents and translating it into action. So it's about competence, not necessarily degrees, and that's the key thing. It's about being clean, being ethical, being compassionate, and being about others.
What is the fundamental thing that you want to leave with us this evening?
That the Freedom Party is prepared and is preparing itself to assume leadership of this country and to lead it in a direction that it has lacked for many, many years. We believe that governance in this country has gone backwards, and we intend to bring back a governance that we can be proud of as Dominicans. We intend to build an economy that we can be proud of as Dominicans. And we want to build a society that is cohesive, has a mission and a vision, and is driving towards that vision. And so that's fundamentally what we are trying to do. We want to build a sort of country and society that I think all of us know in our hearts, in our minds, is possible. The dream that we always had, even as little children, to live in a prosperous, progressive nation. And so that is the mission, that is the vision. We believe in that dream, and we want to actualize that dream. And we want to say to you, let's go. We are willing to do the work, and we're willing with you to join us. And let's finally turn this thing around and move Dominica in the direction to be the sort of society that we have dreamed too long about.
We'll take this final call on the program for this evening and wrap it up. Good evening. Good evening. Speak up, please. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
I would like to just comment to what I'm going to ask him. Okay? I think that a portion of the Freedom Party has hijacked the Labour Party. I think that these people are the biggest haters and the biggest destroyers of this country. With what they have going on back in the with the Labour Party hijacking and everything. I want to know what message we have for these people. After what they have done to Dominica for the past 15 years. I feel that these people are the biggest haters.
Okay, caller, we got the point, and you're a bit distorted. So, I did you get his point?
I think so. I think he was asking about the people who migrated to the Labour Party, and in his opinion, the biggest haters or destroyers.
But we somewhat addressed that earlier.
I think we addressed it. And again, we are not focused on those sort of issues. That is not the approach that the Freedom Party takes in terms of who are haters and who are not, and who deserves to come back and not. We're a big open tent. And we're saying if you have the values, if you believe in a better future for Dominica, if you believe in transparent government, if you believe in progressive government and a transformation of our society, then we welcome you back. All people who believe that, we'll give them a chance to be partners in that development.
Bernard Hurtault, should we accept that as your final comment for this evening? Ladies and gentlemen, Bernard Hurtault, the interim leader of the Dominica Freedom Party. I'm just going to give him the opportunity to say a final goodbye to everyone and to thank them for their participation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ferdina, for having me on and having this conversation. It was a wonderful dialogue. And thanks to all your listeners and the public and on the various platforms for participating, for the calls. I mean, you know, we are Dominicans, you know, and I am a Dominican and share with you that passion and love we have for the country. And it's just always a pleasure to have any dialogue with my partners.
And with that, we come to the end of tonight's In the Spotlight radio show. We want to thank everyone who participated, who listened, who tuned in through whichever medium they chose. I want to say something before we leave, though. I realize there's a bit of a conversation that was going on under the Facebook Live. I'm not sure what the original comment was, but I'll say this. This program that I do is all about highlighting Dominicans, the story of our people, relevant and current situations as well. And I have given the opportunity to the opposition leader to be here. He's been on the program. I've given the opportunity to Mr. Hurtault when he became the leader of the Dominica Freedom Party. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to do by having Bernard Hurtault here on the program as the interim leader of the Dominica Freedom Party. I have extended invitations to every leader in Dominica to be here. And so, you know, do not stay on the sideline and make statements that you have no idea about. And I will continue to bring anyone I choose to on my program. It's my program. Okay? Have a good night, everyone. Don't forget to make a contribution to the program. You can make contact with me at 275-7565. Of course, area code 767, which represents Dominica. God willing, we will be back here. Not next week Monday. It's a holiday next week Monday. Easter Monday. So the following Monday, we will be here for another In the Spotlight radio show. Until then, have a good night, everyone, and thank you again for tuning in.